Yeah, just on shipping, freight rates, etc. I mean, obviously, we're going into a globally slower environment. We've only got a couple of economies in the world that seems to be charging ahead. The US being one, India perhaps another one. China is not. Is that reflected in what you're seeing in terms of freight rates, in terms of shipping overall? Are you seeing a slowdown taking place?
Yeah, again, it moves, but I'll very quickly say when it comes to the container, is the demand of the West. But at the end of the day, demand in isolation doesn't say much. The fact that 2020 was the profitable year, when basically global trade is stalled, tells you that it's about demand and supply. And at this point of time, yes, demand slowdown is there. But if you talk about the global trade growth, after decline in 2022, nearly flattish in 2023, because of a large part of destocking took place, the global trade growth has started to pick up. But this is nowhere compared to the supply growth that we are witnessing. Similarly is the case if you look at a crude tanker, where supply growth is barely 1%. So even 1.5% of demand growth is just good enough to keep the freight rates high. In fact, last week you probably would have read about how these attacks for the first time led to the casualties of the seafarer. Until then, majority of the crude tankers were still sailing through the Red Sea. A small diversion has lifted the crude rates by as much as 40%. So it's a very delicate balance. I often say is that what you're going to see in the next 10 years, it's like a known unknown. Probably we are entering into slightly more tense geopolitical environment. Probably there will be more climate-related issues. And demand and supply is tighter, but which doesn't mean that volatility will be reduced.
If anything, you'll see a higher. Yeah. Parash, we're entering into a more tense geopolitical environment, and it seems like we have taken our eyes off Ukraine, where President Putin arguably, in terms of the military balance, has the upper hand. Do you fear that we could see a repeat of the supply chain shocks created by Ukraine that we saw in 2021, 2022 again?
I mean,
given where things are going there.
I mean, so I probably don't have any view on the political side of it, but the way I see it is that because it's a 2-year-on thing now, the supply chain for now has already been adjusted. So you are seeing exponential grain season from the Brazil. All of those commodities are moving back here. With respect to container, Russia was a small part in a larger scheme of things. The biggest impact we saw was primarily on the product and crude tankers, because a lot of the crude and product used to go to Europe, which was the short-haul route, and now a lot of the Russian crude and products are making way to Asia through the sea route via longer distance, and all of that are now priced in terms of longer ton mile. So depending on how it will end, if you're of the view that one day it will end, and then probably you will see some of the mean reversion, in the sense that some of those long-haul sailings probably will lead to a short-haul and will add some capacity back to the system.